From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Hello.
It looks exactly
Hello.
as if we were watching with a corpse.
Oh, there you are. I was afraid for a moment that you had forgotten our appointment.
Good evening. This is Sergeant X. They say that ghosts and the like just don't exist.
You remember me, don't you? I'm your host on behalf of the makers of Carter's Pills. And you're to be my guest tonight in the mysterious circle of the inner sanctum.
Well, unless you think more of a large fat fee than you do of your life, I advise you to throw up the case at once.
Apparently, we don't look at this in the same light, Mr. Dalrymple. I expect danger, and I'm prepared to meet it.
Oh, wow. Please stop. Thank you so much. Welcome to Man Alone After Dark, the only solo role-playing talk show on the internet. I'm your host, Man Alone. And this evening, kids are in bed, the feet are up, and we're ready to get down. And I must begin by acknowledging surpassed 10,000 subscribers, which I know Fun Police are the Joy Patrol, the Joy Kill, Joy Division, Joysticks. You're all out there. You're telling me it's an arbitrary number. I know, but look, 10,000. It's exciting when a new digit joins the squad. You know, you had 4 digits, then the 5th one shows up, and now you can field a NBA basketball team. So I just want to say, because I actually do feel really thankful, and so I don't want to start out on too sentimental of a note, but I just want to say irony has been a great teacher in my life, and specifically I tend to get everything I want exactly after, not that I don't want it anymore, but like I no longer wish for it or hope for it, right? And so a decade ago, boy, what I would have done for an audience of 10,000 people to listen to what I have to say, because it was so important. I had some things to complain about. And now it's definitely not a bad feeling, but I'm more or less like, okay, cool, that's great, rather than, because and that's just kind of how things go very often, right? It's like you get the thing when you don't hunger for that thing anymore, and then it just sort of arrives when things are ready to arrive, or and I'm happy that you have arrived, and rather than feeling like I want to stand on a stump and my bully pulpit and tell you all my thoughts about the world, what I would rather do is just say thank you. I feel incredible gratitude to everybody. I know in the long scheme of things of YouTube and everything, there are channels with many more followers, etc. But I don't care, because to all of you, I will say that you give me more than I can ever give you. And so thank you. I'm very, very thankful for you. Okay. More importantly, when you get 10,000, well, it's finally time to link up your merch store to your YouTube page. And that's no exception here. The merch must flow, my friends. And so, link below, but also in, I think that it's connected to the YouTube channel now. All of these, I set them up as t-shirts, sweatshirts, like pullovers, and hoodies. I wanted something that maybe a little more exotic, a themed boa, but we got what we got. Here's some coffee cups. This one right here is actually like my favorite although I think it looks best and this is my design. I think it looks best actually in black. Yeah, but all of the colors were vetted by me because some of the colors, like it was offering a lime green one, and it just absolutely did not work. So I'm gonna try to get the other designs that I showed when I can, but some of them didn't work well. I know that some people really wanted the one with the baby breathing fire, but that design did not translate well to the shirt. So I will figure this out. Of course, this is our Jorma design. We got that one on. And what else? Oh, this one's great. I love this one because it features, like, it shows it off as just a blank, like the back of it. But Sinai, we did increase the font here. I think this one's quite clever, and this is the one that is most likely to. People are going to say, "What does that mean?" And then you're going to explain it, and they're going to be like, "Oh, okay." And they're going to kind of look like confused and maybe a little annoyed, and you're like, "Well, I didn't get away from me. I didn't tell you to ask me what this means." So if you're looking for those kind of interactions, this is what I think. Yeah, this one only kind of worked in these two colors here, but this is really what I wanted. This sort of crew neck pullover sweatshirt. I think this looks great. I love wearing crew necks like this. So now, between now and June 15th, use promo code FIRSTMOVER for 10% off your order. Already had 3 orders, which is 3 more than I expected. So thank you. It's just for a little bit of fun. I know it's sort of kind of ridiculous, but it's fun. So if anyone has any other ideas or designs, send them my way. I would love to. It's not hard these days. If any of you want to make a T-shirt for anything and you haven't made one in a while, you no longer have to go and screen print it on. Okay, so I know that the first thing on the agenda was AlienRPG, and we will talk about that because they released the second beta. But I must reverse and do reverse order because I have been threatening to do some solo play for about the last 15 videos of a few specific games, and we're going to get right into them. And the theme of what all these are, what you see before you, is these are games that I consider to be fast lane games. And fast lane games are games that you can hop into and start driving fast. Because for me, the hobby motivation is fleeting. Like, the hobbyist thought in me comes and goes, and if I don't get going while it's still there, it will drift away, and I will start reading a book or something that has an easier entry point. So I think while it's great to have games that you can have a deep investment in, and I think it's great to have games like Korg, which is like waiting room games. This is like a little more than a waiting room game. This is something that you could literally do with an index card and some dice. These are games that can provide you with a really cool, enriching, full experience, potentially. Some of them I haven't tried yet, so we'll take a look at those. But also, the idea here is that, and kind of, I'm doing a sort of non-scientific test of these. These are games I believe to not take too much time from start to play. And so what I mean by that is, from the moment you pull it off the shelf, how long does it take to read and understand the rules, create a character, and start playing? And so I'm actually going to do this in as much as I can. I'm gonna set a timer. Now, like I said, it's unscientific. For some of these, it's more or less scientific, because here's why it's unscientific. I've played some of these, but the ones here are the ones that I am prioritizing the play of, and I have looked through them. But you know, I guess the way that we would most, you know, reliably isolate independent variables and everything is if I'd never looked at these in my life, but then I don't really know if I would know that they were appropriate for this. So I assume that most of you, like me, when you get a new game, you flip through it, you check it out, you take it with you to bed, you look at it, and then maybe you put it in your bag and say, I'm going to look at it during my break at work, and you never get a break, and then take it out of your bag later. But so pretty much all of these games here have gotten that level of treatment. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to keep the camera running, and I guess I'll edit later, and I'll take the game and I will just go and I'll start the timer and see how long it takes. Your mileage will obviously vary based on reading speed, comprehension, how familiar you are with that type of game. But again, it's just like a little bit of an insight. I'll try to talk about things that might have made it faster or slower for me. And so these are the ones I definitely want to get through because these are ones that I've been wanting to play for a while. These are ones that we could add, and that maybe even if I've played a version of them, I haven't played the sequel or the supplement. For instance, like right here, we have Into the Odd, which I've played a bunch of times. But I have Into the Bronze, which I've like set up a bunch of times, but never fully played. And I think that's the only one that doesn't have like discrete solo rules, although I do have a supplement in there. It's a pretty remedial solo supplement, but I think we'll be able to do it. So those I'll get to, but this alone right here could take some time because I'm going to be speeding up like the footage, and I'll slow it down if I have anything sort of interesting to say, but otherwise what I'll do is I'll play, film it, and then in between that, I'll kind of talk about my experience with that. But just so that you could see me going through the motions of it, I'll keep the camera running. All right. So the first one we're going to do here is Thorn Keep. I showed this in the, I believe it was the members video the other day. This is from Space Penguin Inc., and it's by K-Devs and Charlotte Laskowski. And this is Kay's dog is Sigfrido Roberto. So that's Sigfrido. And so you need a sheet of paper, a pencil, and something to draw on, and some 6-sided dice. Today's dice celebrities, we're going to use the Chaosium dice set today. We've been given the Free League a lot of spin lately, so we'll choose from our, not necessarily all Chaosium, like these are RuneQuest, but I guess these are the Q Workshop dice, including, we could potentially be using the Gremlin dice. That's eligible. Or we could be using the Pizza dice. That's on the table. Okay. There's some race car dice, circus dice. Who knows? We'll pull it out as the need comes up. Q Workshop is some gorgeous dice, and cannot wait to show you, however, the new set arriving from Dice Nest, a sponsor of this video, but not of this video, because if you have a video sponsor, things change up a little bit. So, but once we get a new set from them, we'll take a peek at that. Okay. So I am going to pause for a second, and then once I unpause, we're going to go. And hopefully I have enough willpower when I'm done with this to like put some music over this. Actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to play this yet, but I'm going to be listening to my new Vermis album. Oh, yeah. I am going to reach out to Hollow Press to see if I can play it, but I'll find something nice to play over the top of this. Okay, so 10 minutes, 44 seconds for Thorn Keep. And honestly, it could have been probably 8 minutes, but I think 10 minutes 44 is fair, given that I'm sure I'm not the only one who'd be futzing about trying to do this and that. But wow, fantastic. And another cool thing, well, I haven't said a cool thing yet, but a really cool thing about this game is despite the fact that it's so basic, it's super fun. The game loop is super clear. You're going to sort of go to different parts of or different dungeons, an abandoned mine, a crypt, etc. You're going to have combat and non-combat encounters. And essentially, your companions act as your stats. And so I rolled like 4, 3, and 2. Those are the numbers that I can add to each of my companions' stats to overcome the different challenges in the dungeon. So it's like you add it to whatever stat it is. So say that it's like it says, oh well, this challenge here in these are like the intro one. So a stuck door is attack 4, right? And I have this like 4, 3, and 2. And that's for each of my characters. So I assign them, like the archer had 4, the squire 3, and the bard 2. They each have a trait that they can use once per dungeon. And so it's attack 4. I then look at the stats of each of them, and I'm like, okay, archer has 2 attack. Matthias the squire has 2. Chime the bard has 1. So I'm probably going to use archer or Matthias. But if I wanted to, right, I could use Chime the Bard, and I just have to have it equal to or surpass the target number of 4. And so essentially I have to decide whether to like which companions efforts, because they each get to like be used for 2 different challenges throughout the dungeon for each event. And if they lose, they have to return to the castle. And essentially you can keep going until your companions all need to return to the castle. And every event that you completed, you multiply that times what was it? You multiply the events completed times your base score and add how many stables you have, which I guess is like how much can be carried. And with that, you determine how much resources you bring back to this Thorn Keep. And then in Thorn Keep, there's these different things that you could build up. So it's sort of like Rogue Legacy. So you could build up, you start with Tier 1 Great Hall. And the Great Hall determines the maximum tier you can upgrade other sections. So like this always, if this is on level 2, that means the highest everything else can do is level 2. The Armory can go up to Tier 5. And each tier you go up will take away -1 target number of combat events. But to build the first tier, we need 5 iron and 1 lumber. To build the 4th tier, we would need 20 iron and 15 lumber. So we'll just keep going back into the different dungeons: abandoned mine, crypt, haunted forest, monster lair, ruins. And these are the resources that could be obtained from each of them: ironstone, gold, lumber, leather. And you can get bedrooms that regenerate companions between dungeons, stables, bring back 1 more resource gain, kitchen, reroll up to 1 die at the beginning of a dungeon, and the courtyard, -1 target number from non-combat events, so like traps and stuff. And so it's like resource accrual, and then you build up your manor, and it makes you stronger, and then eventually you want to get yourself to the point that you are strong enough to be my man. I had to say it. To go to the Demon Lord's castle and give that a go. And I don't want to give away the whole thing, but just suffice to say that the Demon Lord's castle has like this and this, like lots, almost 20 different encounters that can happen there. Really cool game. $15. Awesome. And of course, Thank you, Sigfrido Roberto. All right. Definitely going to finish that. This is going to be like agonizing for me because I have to stop at the point that I'm actually start playing. So, next up we have The Wanderer, The Shadowed Realm by Cody Barr. And this is art by Perplexing Ruins. This is a game that by Sleepy Sasquatch, and I have been wanting to play it for a while. I highlighted the fact that it's about 51 pages, and it is it just gets a lot of things right in that pretty much one of the best uses of 50 pages you can find. And I think it had a lot in common with Shadows of a Dying Sun, just aesthetically. And in fact, there's, I think, a picture that they share in their... well, anyways, I think the cards for Shadow of a Dying Sun, I think, because Perplexing Ruins did art for both of these, so I don't think it's any scandal I'm revealing here or anything like that. But yeah, actually, these are the cards for Shadows of a Dying Sun, and one of them is like the cover of The Wanderer. So they share more than that DNA. And we'll try both of them, and we'll see how long it takes to get both of them booted up. So we had 1044 for Rose Thorn Keep, and I'm going to clear the space here and see what it takes for The Wanderer. Okay, we got everything here. Nice character sheet, plural, or I guess it's a legacy tracker printed out. And once we jormify this sheet, we can start the clock here. And here we go. All right, we got to restart the clock on that one simply because I suddenly was like, where are my special edition circus dice? But I left the clock running. All I read was the introduction. So we will, let's say, let it run up to 30 seconds, and then I'll resume. But I forgot that my special edition Key Workshop circus dice, they're one set that comprise all of it. So there's like, I thought there were all of these, other of these, but 24-sided dice. Gladiator ready. All right, now we will begin again. Yeah. 26, 27. I don't. I guess it was very good. In fact, a lot of the systems were super clever. One thing though that I was thinking about and that I didn't expect really is, other than the tables in the back, this book is just like all instructions. And I guess I just wasn't expecting that. And I think I probably would have played a bit and referred to the instructions. And in fact, on these cards, I wrote out the mechanics for combat and spell casting. The main system here is, I probably talked about it in the voiceover. One thing that I'm unclear on and that I would have to go back and get a closer read of is stats. It says all characters start with the same base stats. Record these on the character sheet provided. And so it says 6 HP, 3 wounds, which it doesn't say max wounds, but I assume that would be max wounds, I assume, because I think wounds are every time you accumulate one, you go up to your max, and then at your max you retire. And then max shadow is 3, and then 3 spirit, 1 fate. So spirit allows you to +1 any roll, fate to re-roll or redraw from the deck. And then it says you start with +0 to combat skill, magic, and wits. Now, my assumption is adding a plus, even though it's a 0, that's the starting modifier, +0. And then, for instance, I was a human folk type, and humans get +1 combat skill. And then I also got +1 combat skill for being a watcher. But I guess I'm confused at like the modifier versus base. So let's look at it this way. Say it says, let's just think that this plus is sorry, let me zoom in. That this plus is a not a typo, but just irrelevant, right? So we'll say combat skill is 0, and then a human is +1 combat skill, so that puts them at 1, and then a watcher is +1, so that's 2, and then maybe the modifier. Maybe this is what's confusing to me. Maybe the modifier is what comes from like equipped stuff. Because for instance, with your shield, that's +1 defense and -1 combat skill. Which, to be honest, I don't think that would be worth it at the start of the game, because I would just want my combat skill to be high, because the way that enemies attack in this game is if you do not connect, they get to attack. And combat skill determines success. And so then the other thing is, okay, so like this is a 2 then, and let's pretend that that's not a modifier. So maybe the modifier when it's equipped would be -1, right, from my shield. And then it says it's +1 defense, right? So I put +1 here, and it says D, as if there's a defense roll. But defense is the character's ability to resist damage in combat. I don't have a starting defense, and so I don't know. I would roll like a D4. Oh, okay. So leather armor would be D4 armor. So I don't have any defense, and so it's like +1 defense for the shield, but to what? Because I'm not rolling anything. I don't have anything to roll, because it doesn't seem like there's a base defense score. Because I would say, okay, well, it says that these they can go from D4 to D12. And so maybe D4 means no armor, but right here it says that the warden starts with leather armor for D4. This, you know what? It's just a little bit of minutia. And then there's companions, I think is cool. The real gem here, and I'm actually sorry. It's just like I'm in media race here or whatever, and so I think that I'm not giving the proper immediate response. I was just a little bit caught up in the confusion. But let me just say, if I haven't said in the voiceover, the thing that I find really interesting is the quest generation is really cool. So you like roll up a quest. The difficulty of the quest determines how many tracks there are. And then these tracks are like storylines within the quest, but like defeating enemies can add tracks. And then on top of that, you have these events and locations. And so I think it's just going to give a lot to like tie together, because you have these quests which have these overarching things, like there's different quests. Recover stolen artifacts from a local temple. Cool. And then you'd have these tracks, and these tracks are going to be more sort of, how shall we say, I think more abstracted. I like that there's just a being and things table. Well, these are events and locations. Maybe I didn't understand tracks. Tracks are clues that lead towards finishing a quest and are acquired. Ah, okay. A character must find... Okay, so tracks are sort of like clues. But that, I mean, that's still pretty cool. So you have these quests, you have to find these tracks, and these tracks... I probably would enjoy a tracks table just so that I can get inputs, even if they're just one-word inputs that were like, slippery, and I could decide, oh, this track is slippery. Like, what does that mean? But that is something that could easily, we can use any sort of Oracle thing. And then the shadow is really cool because there's really two ways you can die. You can be wounded and forced to retire, and then you can also like be consumed by the shadows. And the other thing that I really like that gives it makes me very motivated, very inspired to come back is after each quest, you increase reputation, and actually, as you increase your reputation, you start to get new titles, and then these new titles give you new capabilities, which I think is really great. I think that, and like the same thing with Thorn Keep, of just being able to build towards this gradual building towards something, is keeps me very motivated. I just think I'd have to work out some of the language around the stats. But other than that, and I think this keeps good track of things as well. You have these different tracks. You have your titles, companions. I'm not quite sure how companions work, but maybe I just spaced that a little bit. Are they like full characters? You can recruit up to 3 companions. Oh, I see. Okay, so companions have like abilities that you could use at any time. Wizards give you okay, so they like augment your skills. So that would probably be the modifier place. So like you find a wizard companion, once per combat a spell deals +2 damage, but if they get hurt, then they take a wound and they're removed from fellowship. Cool. And it reduces the spirit. Very cool. So far, that's 2 games that I am like going to play tonight and feel excited about it. So let's see if we can keep it up. So we might as well just keep it rolling with Shadows of a Dying Sun, which I think I've assumed is similar, but I think it's just because the color scheme is similar and because the cards share a drawing from Perplexing Ruins. But let's see what it's actually about here. I am going to... I know that the actual video you're watching, because I've been like speeding through my play, is probably not that far in, but for me, it's been 1 hour and 20 minutes already. So let me reset the timer here and set myself up. I'm doing the dice in advance this time, just so that there's no mistakes. I'm feeling like for the first time, even though these are like racing dice, I feel like the color is appropriate. Even though actually this would probably be the perfect ones for Slavborg, but I don't know. Feels consistent. I mean, the other ones would be these RuneQuest dice, which I also love, but they feel like a little bit difficult to see on camera. Why don't I just show you when I'm done? Yeah, I mean, these rubber dice are actually might be good too. I just can't get over them. I mean, they're supposed to be dragon scales, but come on. It's Spider-Man, right? Well, anyways, these are the runners-up. These are what we're using, but of course, augmented with a modern D4, because this is a modern channel. All right. Shadows of a Dying Sun by Alan Barr, not Cody. I'm surprised this game is not more popular than it is. The illustrations are incredible. The game is 87 pages with character sheets, and I think we have some character sheets here. And the system of the game, as far as the one thing that I know, is this Heron's Path, that as your character gets closer to death, the stronger they get. And I think I really like that. So let me just Jormify this sheet. And we can start our engines. Excellent. And it is unfinished. And I challenge you, Alan Varr, to... Oh, wait a minute. 35. We'll call it 35-30. I challenge you to finish this game. I think, and I'm literally reading between the lines, that faith was lost in this game while creating it. Maybe I'm going out on a limb, but this game was not completed. And it is so good. It's so interesting. The systems in it are so... They're so alluring to me. And there's so many good ideas here, but it's just incomplete. And you could like see it in certain areas. Like, first of all, there are... I was checking towards the end. There's like references to different... character sort of like professions, maybe. I mean, there is former occupations. That's one of the mechanics that is really interesting, is that instead of skills, you have this list of occupations. I happen to kind of have like a gonzo amount of them, but if you have a skill in something, roll with advantage. And if you have something going against you, disadvantage. And if you have advantage and the person against you has advantage, it just like cancels it out. So there's no math other than that. And I mean, in terms of like skills, but they use these occupations, which you can use the tables. And I think this is so cool, is that rather than skills, you get gardener. And it doesn't tell you what gardener can do. It's like, think about a gardener. If you face a situation and you think a gardener would know how to do something that would apply to this, give yourself advantage. And that just works so well for the solo mind, which is ready to like find advantage in things no matter what. And then the whole system of how your character grows and then dies, the resource management is brilliant because it goes beyond just resource managing your equipment, right? So you're going to check it off every time you use it. As you get hurt, as you take harm in the game, you have to determine, I could take a condition. If I take a condition, I lose the ability to do things. So for instance, if you're fatigued, you can't uncheck anything else, right? Or maybe you can't heal yourself or whatever it is. And so it's like, okay, well, instead of that, maybe you can take a check on the Heron's Path, right? And maybe that way you get a boon or you get a scar or you just advance towards this, which is death. And so you're like, well, I better just take the lumps in conditions. That's fine. But if you get yourself in a corner and then suddenly get just a condition, like not a choice, and you have none left but dead, you have to mark off dead. And so it's a risk reward, resource management in every sense. But I don't know how to, several times it's like, oh, well, if you have a shield, you're a warrior. And if you can cast spells, you're a mystic, but there's no system to determine like what my profession is, I guess. I know it's confusing because there's occupations, but I'm saying like my character archetype. And then I know that it's like, hey, this is just like this book. It's 90% done, but there's even parts like I pointed this out in solo play. At one point, it says this was borrowed by Sacrifice by Alex T. Black Oath, which doesn't surprise me because Alan and Alex worked together on Under the Ashen Sky. But then it says the basic tool used in a GM-less session of Heirs to Heresy, which was that an earlier version of this game. The solo section also extremely good. I mean, it has a section, just these oracle tables, AI randomized combat, not actual AI if you're not familiar with that. I just mean like you can see what happens, what your enemy does at full health, half health, quarter health. I think that's awesome. Initial reactions, and then companions and followers actions, as well as different kinds of companions that are more complete. But then also it's just like there's 2 more pages there or something. And I think that this game is awesome. And I wish I could have the last 30 pages of it. I know it's in the brain somewhere. The art is unreal. Look at this. It's so beautiful. The you learn these traditions with spells, right? And all these spells, you kind of lock and load them in before you go out. And each tradition also has like different cost and effect. For instance, if you are in the tradition of burnt and blackened gods, you don't have to roll an intellect test to cast the spells, but you have to check a box. You have to check Heron's Path or a condition box. And so you're pretty much doing like a blood sacrifice. And then the tradition of the elder gods, you don't check any of that, but you have to check a box on a wand. And so if your wand goes away, you can't cast anything. The tradition of the dreaming gods, you gain a hope mechanic with 6 boxes. And it can be checked and unchecked like other conditions. And if a spell in this tradition tells you to uncheck or check hope, and you cannot follow that, you have to check a box in your wand instead. And it lends it. But then there's like some of them that don't have any conditions to them. They just have different spells. So I don't know then how to use the spells in the tradition of the Everfar ones. I think I have heard that some feedback on this game was that the resource management system was a bit cumbersome. And I would like to, my opinion is, let me see the best way I can say this. It's not. I disagree. I think that this game is approaching something revolutionary here. And and look at this, the tradition of the ever-consuming maw. You gain a new resource called Doom. Your Doom has 10 boxes. If all 10 Doom boxes are checked, you must check your dead condition. You have accepted part of the soul of the ever-consuming maw into your body. You quiver with hunger, struggling to resist the devouring world. There's this table here where you get this like other 3 items or random gear, and it just gives this vivid description, and then it's like, figured out. And that's actually not something that I'm saying is like incomplete. And I know I'm probably getting something wrong. Like that, you know, some of this is probably intentionally left that way. But this, for example, one of the things I got was a monocle that shows a strange time signature in an eldritch language floating above the head over every living being you look at. And then, to me, as a solo player, that like puts blood on my fangs. Because I'm like, what could that mean? What does it mean? And it feeds the plot so well. I hope there's more from this universe. I love Jack Vance. I love Black Company. I love Gene Wolfe, Shadow the Torturer. I would love to explore this world. For now, I'm almost wondering, as I was going through it, like I almost wonder, plug this into that. But I think this is a really special thing. Really, really special. So thank you, both bars, Cody and Alan, for some excellent games, as well as Rose Thorn Keep. I'm Charlotte Liskowski. Super impressed. Moving on. I'm not done. This next one, I am also extremely thrilled about it, and I'm very, very curious. Actually, let's take a little break before we get to this one. Not an actual break, but this one is a little bit different than what we've been doing. This is Tarnation, Space Penguin Inc., and Solo Adventures Beyond the Wild West. This is a game that occupies an interesting space for me, which is that I guess not for me. It doesn't really have to do with me, but it's a journaling game, but it has more than it has some mechanics that go beyond. See, like as I've mentioned before, I think some journaling games will say they have mechanics, but the mechanics are just journaling mechanics. So it'll be like, oh yeah, go to this page, and you know, if you roll a 6, go to this page or whatever. This seems, from my flip through, to actually have some mechanics. Behold, an episodic game of solo roleplay set in a Weird West pocket of reality. 3 6-sided dice are your ticket to Tarnation, a vast, uncanny wilderness. All right, I'm going to choose some dice, and then we're going to try it out. And also, these are actual supplements to it, trifold supplements. I thought there was another one, but maybe there are just 2. Anyways, I'm just going to say it. My butt hurts after I sit here for a while. I even have like a chair pad. I've got to get a new butt. All right, let me pause for a second. I will admit, while mostly influenced, as I think many my age are, by the movie Wild Wild West, I think probably steampunking it here, but these look like some fine dice to roll here. What in tarnation? Let us begin. Okay, fantastic. I'm quite delighted. As far as journaling games go, it's actually one that I think has something that sort of sparks intrigue and possibility in me. And number 2, I think this is great for people who are trying to understand the architecture or the sort of the elements of a scene beyond like intro, overview, etc. Because the way that this is set up is for each adventure, you roll on 3 things to start, which is impetus, predicament, and stake. And I think that's such a good way to consider a scene. What got you started? What's causing you resistance, the predicament, and then like what do you stand to gain or lose? And then once you know the situation, what you stand to gain or lose, how troubling is a predicament, you can then modify or reset the bar, so to say. Maybe you're afraid that you won't be able to roll a 5. You can lower that, let's call it a target number, to a 4. But to do that, you have to take on some additional baggage, right? So you can take your lumps, which means you mark a negative result on your character card. You could play it safe, which is like you can succeed, auto succeed, but you get less for it, you advance less. Or you can leave a loose end, which means you succeed, but then you have this loose end, which you track. And these are things that come up in situations that kind of follow you around, right? You know, you robbed a bank in Tuscaloosa, and that's a loose end, and it's going to come up at an inconvenient time. But right here, I think, is darn it, I kept I think that like this to me is the way to go for journaling games, because one of the things, this is for me personally, I've talked about this a bunch of times, is that when I read a journaling game and I say, okay, here it is, I open it up, I read the whole thing, and I say to myself, there's really nothing that can happen, or there's no words that I'm going to be given other than what is in this book, right? Like, and if there's not a lot, even if there's 50 prompts, I just feel like the game that's happening is discovery that's all on me. I hope I'm being clear here. Let me say it again a different way. I like to, and I suppose this is the appropriate setting to talk about this. When I am playing a video game, for example, one of the things that really motivates me is that there is going to be new companions that I'll meet. There's going to be new areas of the map that I can unlock. There's special and stronger weapons out there. There's new challenges or maybe hidden bosses or things like that, right? And so if I'm playing a journaling game and it's self-contained, then I'm pretty much like, okay, there can be those things. I'm like measuring if I want to say it like this, but I think I do, even though it sounds silly. There can be new things I find, but they're all going to come from my brain. And I don't need to buy and play a journaling game to sit there and go, let's think of like a new sword that I can find. I got it. I'll call it the laser sword. And it's like, I could have thought of that while I was eating dinner. Whereas with this, because one of the required components of it is an adventure, even though, for instance, the A Flicker in the Borderlands, the adventure here, you know, just like anything else, it has a limited set of impeti, predicament, predicamati, and staccati. That's plural, right? And it has like different, for instance, it'll say, oh, you rolled Traveler plus Disappearance. Here's an example of what could happen if you roll that combination of things. So there is these prompts like anything else, and it gives you examples. And I like this because especially a Flicker in the Borderlands, they said this is kind of a connective tissue adventure that you can use between other adventures of just sort of traveling around and mapping out different places, right? And you can say, well, that's no different than anything else. That's like every other journaling game. But early in the book, it lists it as one of the things you need, which is like dice, something to write with, and an adventure. And it says, this book comes with one, a Flicker in the Borderlands, but you really want to, expand your adventures. And then it gives you, well, at least I got 2 with it, Hexbrand in High Country, and it has impetus, predicament stake, a couple of examples of things that can happen, and some things to consider. Objective, example, the first entry, and then this clock system, which the clock is one of the things that when you roll doubles, you can potentially, if you succeed, advance the clock, which works like any other clock. It's like it has 4 segments. Once it hits the 4th segment, old Wild Randy's going to get released from prison or whatever it might be. You're then constructing a dice pool as well, up to 3, and you're trying to call on everything you can. And again, I really think if you're going to go this way of like replacing stats with how many things can you creatively come up with given your items, your skills, your companions that can reasonably consider as an advantage. Add a dice for that, take away for disadvantage, roll your dice pool, and say that your bar that was set was at a 4. If any of those dice are over a 4, which here they weren't, 3, 1, 3, then I failed, and I have to deal with the result of that failure, and that resets things. But if at least one of them is above, I succeed. And because I rolled 2 3s here, which is this is actually not the time you're looking for doubles. That's when you're setting up the actual situation. That means the situation potentially advances a clock. All right. I don't know how well I explain that. My video is now at 2 hours and 27 minutes. Not complaining. I'm actually having a blast. I'm saying it's just my ability to spin a sentence might be a little bit lower than usual. The point is that this is all you need to open up a new, like I'm thinking of, in a video game when you open up a new part of the world map and it had the fog of war. And what I like about this is, look how easy this is to produce, to buy, like I may, I'm going to play through these and I'm going to see, like, did I enjoy that? What was that situation like? Now, I do journaling with a voice recorder when I do it, mostly because I have this and I can't write much anymore and I don't want to type this out. It's my way of doing journaling. But if they release other ones, I think that's so cool because I can just pick one up for what, $5? And in that way, I feel like I have official expansions of the game that I don't have to, wait 5 years for. If there's a sequel, any other journaling game, they could come out with something. But how often does supplements and stuff get released, especially for journaling games? I just think it makes me feel excited about discovering new sanctioned parts of the game. Maybe that is it. And maybe that doesn't make sense to some of you. But to me, part of the sort of suspension of disbelief that I have is the purveyance of canon. I know that doesn't matter to some people. It matters to me. And I've talked at length about, and I make a joke about it, but when they eliminated the Star Wars books, I was like, I'm not going to say I went into a deep depression. That really messed with me. That was one of the first books, like, series that I, as a young 12 years old, I started. I read all those books. I entered in that world. I bought into that world. and then they just like deleted them. And people go, well, they still exist. And I'm like, yeah, but the people who make it and the people who like create, they said they don't. And I'll never not know that. And maybe some people, maybe some of you aren't built that way. And maybe none of you are, or maybe some people understand what I'm talking about. But like, I don't like the idea that the only new discoveries I'm going to make are unsanctioned fan fiction. It feels like journaling feels like fan fiction to me. And oddly, I just need a little bit of like tethering to the official source, even if it's completely irrelevant, doesn't make any sense. I don't know what it is about me. Maybe I need to go to therapy about it. But this game actually has some mechanics that allow me to wager some things, allow me to be creative, allow my character to feel like I'm advancing. You know, maybe I'm able to get new skills. I'm able to get new objects, and even though they don't have like extremely built out stats, which I would love that if there was like stats for a pistol told me how much. I would love to expand the dice pool beyond 3, but then you know what I'm up to. I'm just trying to get a year 0 engine going. But yeah, I think it's really cool. And I hope they keep making stuff for this. And this is the first journaling game that I can see as like playing because I want to and because it's fun and usually I don't feel that way. This and Home was is another one that I feel even though I want it and I'm working on expanding it just like a cocktail weenie bit more. Anyways, that's Tarnation. And so that one was 21 minutes. It was actually 18 minutes and 30 seconds. Okay, so before we go on, I just want to do 2 things. Number one, I want to say that I think a game that could probably be in this video, I considered it, was Substratum Protocol by Pandion Games, which is another game company like Soul Muppet Publishing that I think has some really, really promising things going for it. They're very they care a lot about the presentation of their games. They put out stuff. It's intentional. They make choices. They take chances, and I love it. Even if not all of their games are, you know, up my alley. And their latest one that they kickstarted extremely successfully, I think it was just fully funded on the Ides of May, is a cozy solo game. I know some people, some we have on the SEAL team members Discord, some pro cozites. So if that's your thing, but either way, it just, you could see a certain pride in this. And I'd also like to add that the people who run it are some of the nicest, kindest, best customer service I've ever encountered in my life. So like every interaction is just like, wow, this person did not have to be this cool and nice. So I did bring this to work the other day just to kind of look through it to assess it. The only reason I maybe would, it's by no means like a long lane or slow lane, right? Because we're talking fast lane games. It might be like a little medium, might be about 45 minutes. The only reason I think that is that the solo mode actually requires that you have a whole team of investigators. Although there is a sort of rules light option, but rules as written, you would actually go down with a whole team. The other thing is, I don't know, and it really bothers me because I really wanted to give airtime to this, and especially because of what I said about Pandion Games, I think I want to show this, but I don't know how much because it is not a purely generative solo mystery game. It has like a mystery to it that can be discovered, or at least, you know, certain pathways to it or different understandings of it. And so I just don't know where if I did a playthrough where I would stop, or what would be an appropriate amount to, show off the game, but it respected. I know that there are other channels also that have done it, and so I do think I can figure that out, but I don't think it would be a good candidate for me to go into blind. It's probably one that I should play a bit more first. And I just wanted to say, though, to add to the second thing here, is that when I took this to work the other day, I thought that I put it in my bag so that I could just look through it at lunch or whatever. And then as I was leaving, it was still on the counter, and I was like, "What the hell? I could have like, how did that happen?" So I threw it in my bag. I went to work, and when I was on break, I was like, "Oh, I should take a look at this." And I opened my bag, and I immediately realized, like, what happened is that at some point, I don't know if I just bought it twice or if I got a review copy and then purchased it anyways, or if I I have no if it performed meiosis. I don't know, but I have here 2 new copies of Substratum Protocol, and so I would like to add this to the prize trove for the voicemail leaving contest. Which, again, if you leave a voicemail between now and Monday, June 2nd, 2025. Sorry for those of you in the next year. If you leave a message, could be like a minute. We'll play one and listen to it. That's what I wanted to do. It could be about. I love hearing messages about solo play, tabletop in general, the hobby, Warhammer, life, yourself, whatever it is. You could say like a bunch of stuff that you've been thinking that's like I don't even understand it. And then at the end you're like, "You know what I mean?" And I'll be like, "No, I don't. But, thank you for the message." So whatever you'd like, as long as it's not weird or gross or illegal. But 856-818-3904. Again, that's just a voicemail box. Please say your YouTube handle, so that in case you get picked for one of the prizes, anybody could win the $25 drive-through gift card. But also, if you live in the U.S. or Canada, I'll do another prize, send you this excellent game in the mail, because I want to share the love, but I also want to show people one of the things that Pandion Games has going down. The other thing that they do that I absolutely love, well, I did bring BB. One of the games was the Cold Dark, which is it's a journaling game, but it just reminded me of the Long Dark. I always say it wrong because I think I confuse the names of it. Anyways, the one that I was talking about is something that every time I see it, I'm like, I need to do this. In fact, I should do it tonight. It is the Dungeoneer Design Journal. And the smaller one, because there's a compact one that I left that I gave to BB, and it basically is a daily. I think I've shown this before, but it's really cool. It's a daily entry, so that by the end of a year or whatever, you have completed all of these different prompts and connected them together, so that you have pretty much a mega dungeon. And so, yeah, I'm gonna do it before I go to sleep tonight. I'm doing it. But yeah, so that is Pandion Games. Check it out, and this will have its day, and hopefully one of you will be able to enjoy that soon. But yeah, here's an example of a voicemail. Let me bring one up here.
Hello, Mr. Man Alone.
Hello.
I'm a big fan. I've been watching for some time now.
Big fan of you.
I feel like, I have to get my praise of the channel out of the way first. There's kind of like we've hit critical mass of insincerity, especially on the internet recently. And I really appreciate that the stuff that you make and the stuff you want to do is very sincere. But the question I wanted.
I got to figure out a way to like represent when I'm nodding in agreement, and I the only thing I can think of is this, which is it just doesn't have a good look. So I think I might go with the tap when I'm agreeing with what is said on these. All right, well we'll just continue. I think
To ask is solo tabletop related, and then I experience a lot when I play solo is I'll be going really steady on a game. I'll be super into it, and then I'll get a certain like oracle response or result on the table that I kind of don't know what to do with, and then I'll start getting in my head thinking about it because I know ultimately if I just sort of overlooked it or re-rolled or what was my gut on that decision or that result, I could get back to playing, but I can never shake the feeling or the mentality that like maybe if I just thought a little bit harder or a little bit deeper or made some further lateral connection between information, I can make that prompt work, and it would be more interesting or more emergent or more fulfilling if I did that than if I just made up the response or whatever. And then I get so in my head about this that eventually I just get consumed trying to figure out the best way to interpret that result and then drop the game because it feels like too much of a chore to continue. I just, wanted to know if you had any advice about that, if you had experienced that before. Again, I love the channel. I watch every video. And goodbye.
thank you so much. As an exemplar of a great voicemail, it's hard to do better than that. Just it won't be hard to figure it out, but just so I can know if you can make sure to leave your YouTube handle on the message. But sorry, I had to stop and restart because they're tearing up my street and repaving it. Anyways, I wanted to thank you for that, for those really kind and generous words. I really appreciate you. If you could let me know who you are, that would be great. Just when you leave those messages, it just helps me if you could put your YouTube handle on there, especially if you end up winning a prize. But if that's the case, we'll be able to find you, so don't sweat it too much. But this question, I actually really do deeply understand it, or I should say, I get it, although I don't understand it even for myself, because that does happen to me sometimes, where I linger and I can't seem to get past something where I feel as though I made a choice, but that I could have made a better choice. And it feels as though the crux of the problem is that there's no good, shall we say, heuristic or decision tree here, right? Because a decision tree should be definitive, and there should be like conditions that help us to decide whether to have reaction A or reaction B. But what you're talking about right here is you're talking about things that are occurring in split-second flickers of human choice. It's literally like the same sort of decision processes that go into when we see, a deer on the road and we try to swerve. Like, how do we go left or right? If it's right in the middle, which way do we turn the wheel? And we are not really able to make that decision, and so we just go one way or the other. Well, that technically was a choice of how to turn the wheel, but there's no decision tree protocol that's going to be very helpful in that, because the whole thing is you're working at the level of instinctual reasoning, if it could even be called reasoning, and choice. And then the question is, I could tell you to just choose something and be confident, but this is also paradoxical, right? Because there's two things to be confident in with making choices like this. You could be confident in the choice you made and say, you know what? I really didn't think that this story was going to be about someone robbing a bank, but that came up, and let's let it ride. That's what I want. That's what we're doing. They robbed a bank. All right, full speed ahead. Thrusters, go. That's one confidence. And then another confidence that I find equally useful at times is, you know what? The Oracle says that. The dice says that. But I don't care. I'm going to do something different. And it's not even because I think I have a better idea. It's not even because I think that this will be the best for me. It's just because I'm making a decision, damn it. And that's that, right? Well, where does that end, right? That's the anxiety I will have with that sometimes. Where does that end? And you can deconstruct this into oblivion then. This is the other problem with this, right? I mean, on the members' Discord, they were talking about just sort of pure role play, which I hope everybody knows that there is a massive amount of people who meet in chat rooms and they just role play. They don't have, or have very minimal randomization mechanics. They just have a dinner party and they're all poodles or something like that, and they just go. And I think it's important to think of that because these individuals, many of them are creative types, but I think even they would agree they're not geniuses or anything, but we begin to develop at times an unnecessary dependency on dice and card mechanics. And that's not to say that we're afraid to make decisions without them. It's that we over-attribute them with authority. We are making decisions. The dice, the cards, the oracles, they work for us. They are our employees. And so if we do not like their work, we can send it back. And you can be a tyrannical boss. You can be a friendly boss, a reasonable boss. But whatever boss you decide to be, there are two things. Number one, this experience is telling you something about your relationship with yourself and your ability to accept or to trust in the decisions you make. And trusting in the decisions you make sounds like there's only one good way to be as a human. You must trust every decision you make. Well, to a point. And if somebody trusts every decision they make all the time without questioning, that very quickly turns into sociopathy or a sort of recklessness, or, I mean, it's a belligerence. If you've ever spoken to somebody that no matter what, they just don't care what sort of argument you have, the only thing that exists in their mind is that they are right and you are wrong, and that's that. It's very frustrating. And then obviously on the flip side of it, if you don't trust yourself at all and you have this distance relationship with your decision making and you have constant uncertainty, it's very hard to be an efficacious person. So I'm not trying to psychoanalyze you. I'm just merely saying it tells you something about you. Take it or leave it. And if you take it along with this little packet of salt here. And so you already know all that. And the angle I want to come at it is something different here, is to consider the way in which, there's about to be a big jackhammer leaf blower orchestra. One moment. Okay. the reason why I just want to come at it sort of obliquely here is because I don't want to give you the sort of it depends feedback. I also don't want to give you the, you know, don't be so hard on yourself. Whatever you enjoy, you enjoy. Not because those things are wrong, but because you know them already, and you know, for whatever reason that's not doing it for you in terms of settling this. One of my favorite stories about Jack Nicholson is actually from Matt Damon, and it's from the movie The Departed. And there's this scene very early on. It's sort of a montage. It's a gruesome scene where Jack Nicholson's character and then his like number 2 guy, Francis. No. Jack Nicholson was Frank. This number 2 guy, he's got like a reddish hair and a ponytail, actually. Anyways, they have this couple who owes them money on a beach, and it cuts to this scene, and they both shoot them in the back of their heads. I'm demonetized myself there, but and because they're on their knees facing away from Jack Nicholson and his sort of henchman Capo. The husband, I assume, or male partner, falls after he gets shot, and then the woman falls like that. And Jack Nicholson looks up at his scene partner. Matt Damon wasn't in the scene. He's just watching it from the side. And there was no line there. But Jack Nicholson turns to this guy and goes, "Huh, she fell funny." And for whatever reason, that is perfect. It's perfect because it shows the banal sort of the banal ultra violence of organized crime, which is this dissociation from what they're doing, to the extent that you just did something that myself, you, and most people watching this channel, if they did it, it would be the most horrible, disturbing, disgusting, unforgivable, pivotal moments of your life. You've taken somebody's life. You know, I can't imagine how I could ever live with myself after that, right? I would just think all the time, what have I done to that person, their future? I took their whole future away. And just think about how distant you have to be from that place to say, she fell funny. That being your primary observation, right? Jack Nicholson probably didn't plan that. He did what great artists do, which is he did nothing. He stepped out of his own way, right? And I don't know much about art. I am not a professional artist. I didn't even stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. I just know that any time in my life that I've managed to create something special by my own standard, it is not because of effort. It's because I stopped fighting. I stopped the effort, and I allowed the Care Bear stare of creativity to burst through my chest cavity and just did the human thing, right? It is an act of removal of self. Okay. Now, I know that this is a very roundabout way to say this. So I'm trying to think of a way to ground it a little bit. And I'm not sure if I can, but let's try this. What you're talking about is optimization. Optimization is good in Like insulation, installing insulation in a house. That's good. Who let my notifications come on? That's optimized. I want my notifications off. Yeah, I want my computer disk defragmented. I want my assembly line from my factory in 1962 that there's some like Italian revolution movie being made there. I want processes optimized. God help us if we're optimizing story choices, because optimized stories suck. And in fact, the thing that makes a story is a moment of de-optimization. A story is made from a moment that is not supposed to happen, is not ideal. And that moment is a moment that those in our world who seek to categorize, catalog, order, make everything optimized, it is a moment in which those people would say, avoid that at all costs because it's not as good as it can be. Jerry Maguire. Jerry Maguire was an extremely average movie, and yet it has 2 quotes and 1 scene that people still know what it is. There's the show me the money. The scene where he goes to his office and says, who's coming with me? And Renee Zellweger goes, I will, right? And it's just one guy, one employee. They leave, they start their own thing. And then, of course, at the end of the movie, you complete me. And all of those scenarios, if we were to optimize them, we sent Jerry Maguire to therapy. He got over this betrayal trauma of his partner. He started his own firm. He readjusted his expectations. Totally optimal. Great. Movie sucks. No reason to make it. Instead, let's have him flip out in front of his whole office and make this broad appeal for everyone to help him, and only one person does it, and it's kind of because she has like a little bit of a crush on him, which she later goes on to sort of regret. De-optimized story is story. And the reason why optimization sucks is because the part of your brain that optimizes is not creative. In fact, it must fight creativity in order to seek optimization. Creativity is a chaotic pull. And so you are calling upon a part of your mind that is not your ally in the creative process. And so now, not only have you doubted yourself, you also are unable to move on from that. And that is where it ends up creating a feels bad man feeling in you, is that the reason you can't move on is because your creative mind, you didn't let it play, and it wants to go back to that moment, and then your optimized mind is telling you to move forward, and it completely slows down your work, your forward progress, okay? And so the answer to this is maybe putting your foot down and saying, enough, can't take it. Here's what I think you should do. Give up. Stop trying to make a story. And also, just remember that compared to your mind, your brain is stupid. If you just let your mind knit together the story and you stop worrying about the choices you make, you are going to free up your entire creative brain power, and it's going to do the work you need it to do in the background. You have to trust it. You have to trust it. And I'm telling you, you'll see a miracle when you trust it, which is that your subconscious creative mind is way, way better than your assembly line mind at putting together a story. In fact, it's so good at it, it does it in the background while you're not even focusing on it. You can use your energies for something else. It will create a story because stories are the atavistic, essential core human language. It is the OS built into you already, and it is a symbological language. And the language of symbols is a story-making machine. All it does is make stories. Now, it makes only about 75. You know, it's going to be Gilgamesh or Romeo and Juliet or something like that. We only have about 75 stories, but, you know, the way that it keeps coming up over and over again, we love it. We love it. And it knows those stories so well. And it can make those stories out of two milk bottles talking to each other on a roadside because it knows those stories. It has always known those stories, and it can write those stories blindfold and in heels or whatever, Ginger Rogers. Anyways, I don't know if any of that helps, but thank you again for calling in. 856-818-3904. All right, our last one here, speaking of beautiful stories that I feel very excited about. And by the way, I will talk about AlienRPG if you want to stick around, but yes, I know it's getting, this video is getting a bit long in the tooth. Against the Wind, I mentioned this, and I hope I'm saying it right, Cesar Kapaklay. This is a book that as soon as I saw it, I was like, mine, give. I got it from Lulu. They printed it, and I got this book of tables, which came with it, and it's handy. It's already the stuff is already in the book here. It just sort of puts them separately so that you can, you know, just refer to this more quickly. The only additional thing it has in this book of tables that is not in the core book is towards the end, it has a section of most used tables, which I think, again, is handy. But we'll see how much it matters. You know, I don't know how much it'll matter. I was going to say, oh, I wish they would have added a little something extra, but I don't even know. Maybe not. And so this is in the lands where the wind howls like a beast untamed, you forge your path. They say the gales here shape not just the land, but the very spirit of those who walk it. It is a solo co-op fantasy adventure sandbox game in a land ravaged by fierce winds and biting cold, all infused with a subtle pinch of fairy tale ambiance. In this world, players step into the roles of magical nomad heroes confronting relentless climate, traversing diverse landscapes, and following their own unique paths. So I have only flipped through this book. It is very beautiful. It's a public domain art, but the choices here are incredible because it creates a very cold feeling, which is what they're going for here. And so I've only flipped through it, and I can tell you that I think this will be a fast lane book, but I think there might be one factor in it that makes it take a little bit longer, and I can talk about that after I'm done. But the thing, just from prior experience doing games like this, I may get a little bit bogged down in this section right here of preparing the map. I love doing this. It is not cognitively difficult, but I just know that sometimes, just because it involves drawing, it could take a little bit of time. But if it's as simple as this, maybe we can breeze right through it. So if I start to feel that that piece of things is taking way too long, I'll just advance through it and then say, like, you know, come back to it later or afterwards or whatever. But all right, I'm gonna give it a go here. Trying to see if you need to know anything else. This game draws inspiration from Ironsworn, Maze Rats, Mouse Ritter, Altaris. I wonder what that is. 2d6 Dungeon, Mythic Bastion Land, Fate Core, Worlds Without Number. And it's got some really... I am really excited about this, just seeing, like, if it pulls off what it is trying to pull off here, this can be amazing. Let's make sure we have 2d6, d12, character sheet. Yeah, I have the character sheets are very simple. I'm curious as to how this happens because also I was accidentally printing out like a form fillable version of these character sheets. I didn't even realize it. Like these are little things you fill in, these little nodes right here. But yeah, basically this is the character sheet, and then there's also like fillable map sheets. So I'm just gonna put these aside and grab the dice and everything, get set, and we'll start. Well, I think and hope you'll agree. I thought to close it out here, this would be a good. We'll do my little bit of an icy Viking dice as well as runic, and it looks like we just need 2d6 and a d12, but we'll keep those there, and I think we're ready to rock and roll. There's not even really a space to jormify this sheet, so we'll do what we can here. And we start the clock. Okay, at about a half hour in, I am on page 27, and so that is about a quarter of the way through. So I'm going to stop there for now, but I will say that I absolutely love this, and I think there's some exciting, intriguing, unique mechanics, and the implied setting is just I love it. It's magic, and even all the options on the tables. I am a scribe, rune artificer. I have a voice of influence. I speak forbidden languages. I draw absent-mindedly on any surface. I have a protective hawk companion named Kalion with vibrant feathered crests. I have a sword cooled in the tears of a goddess. An aura of tranquil music is around me. I have enigmatic and alluring eyes and gravity-defying blue hair. And I am towering with a noble air, and my voice is as deep as old oak roots. We have a world drawn up here, and I just was starting to learn about resources, how to recover them. The ratings here: vigor, resolve, essence, talent, gear, factor. Again, much like the Shadow of a Dying Sun, these are not necessarily fixed figures that are used as ratings. They are more like things that can be spent in order to achieve things. And so what I'm going to say is, I think, given that I really like this, given that I really want to show you all Substratum Protocol and hopefully give it away to one of you. Well, one of my copies. Maybe we can do a half and half episode of that. So I'll say that I hope at the very least some good ideas there in terms of especially the first three games: Rose, Thorn, Keep, Wanderer, The Shadowed Realm, and Shadows of a Dying Sun. All three, I would say, are good games to get up and go, get playing right away. And I wanted to share some others, maybe that. Oh, and also Tarnation. I forgot about Tarnation. What a delightful, refreshing journaling game as well. There, for a little change of pace and interesting idea as well. I did have some other games that I just wanted to share that wouldn't so much be experiments, but that from playing them or playing different iterations of them, if you're interested in a game like this that is easy to, just kind of pull the ripcord and go. Here's a few more that you might be interested in. 12 Years, definitely 12 Years by Max Moon. This is a game that I think is good too if you're sort of bridging the gap between maybe board games or video games. Good idea, very, very guided, very fun, very well written. And Umbra, which is the one I have not played, from Rise and Delve. This is the sci-fi one. It's like you draw cards and have to basically fill up different rooms, and it has resource management and a little bit of combat. Really fun. Dead Belt RPG for space cowboys. This has an interesting system here of using cards to sort of formulate different derelict spaceships, and you try to salvage from them, and you can encounter things on them. This one was easy to draw up and run right away. Home, yes, we'll talk a little bit more about Home. Two of the all-times. Now, one of them I'll say maybe take a little bit longer. That would be Fallen. I think if you're familiar with tabletop games, Fallen won't take too long. Certainly much longer than most systems. But Harper's Quest, one of the most complete games to take 25 minutes, half hour to learn, especially with the attack ceiling mechanic. It's beautiful. Cyan Starlight, also by Alan Barr. That's another good pick. Broken Cask, I know for sure, is super easy to just play, and a little bit of a different approach of like managing a tavern, but the resource management is really light. So if some of the resource management things we saw today were a little bit heavy, that could be something. And then I have not played this, Broken Cask Society, which is the next step in this, where it's more like you're going around and you're a, what do they call that when... a bon vivant or whatever, and you're sort of going around eating and drinking at all the great inns and taverns. Similar to Dead Belt, actually, I think prior to it. Again, I've never played the sequel, but Jason Price has Notorious, which is another game that not only is it nice and simple and ready to get going, but the whole book is just about as non-threatening as possible. So if there's any amount of crunch that starts making you nervous, just look at this game. It's a lay flat that's spiral bound. At no point in this is there a page with more than like 300 words, I'd say at the most. It's all so straightforward. You get to roll some dice, you get to fight, you get to meet new people, different characters, different archetypes, and a very definitive gameplay loop that is spelled out very clearly. And then Outsiders is the expansion for that, where you play sort of bounty hunters. And I am just curious. I always check regularly, but I haven't in a while, if there's like a third one for this yet. I would love to keep... I thought there was something in this that indicated that this was like part 2, but let me know in the comments. A few more here. 2d6 Dungeon. Now this one does have some more, definitely some more, not necessarily crunch, but just more possibilities, more mechanics, and of course this guy who still is one of my favorite faces of all time. I just pooed. And then the expansion I have not played, 2d6 Realm, the Layers expansion for 2d6 Dungeon. Oh, this is Rise, the earlier version of Umbra, which was a sci-fi one. Again, very straightforward. Another good entry point, say you play like 12 years and you want a little something more, for Against Darkness is going to be the next step in that. Still very procedurally generated primarily, but a modular game you can buy. There are at my FLGS, there is literally like a just row of 100 of these, and almost every one of the books is different. For instance, Four Against the Great Old Ones is a Cthulhu version. 12 Years, the core book, is beautiful. The Demon Lord expansion, and then soon enough I will check out. I have checked out, but just to show you all, the Village expansion, which offers some more mechanics, or at least another setting for 12 Years. Kal Arath, also on Lulu. This is the one with all 3 of the first books, and then Al Rathak, Tales of the Crescent Kingdom. Both of those, I'm just going to give it to you straight. They're both masterpieces. And this one, can't say for sure yet, but Into the Bronze is a sword and sorcery RPG in the Bronze Age Mesopotamia, but it's based on the Into the Odd system. Mostly, I just want to use the character sheet, which I also have these condition cards that I made myself and even perforated, that we can stick here whenever we get conditions. I don't know why such things excite me so much, but they do. The book that you see under that is another one that I haven't dived too deep into. It's Additional Materials, but the thing that makes me laugh about this, which is like extra things to use for Into the Odd, is the last Odd Dungeons, Nightlight Circus, Loot Store, Cyber London Hack, which would be, and then the very last thing is called Maze Rats. I guess this was like the start of that. So you can very clearly see the DNA of Into the Odd. Those probably are not quite, I mean, they look great, but they're not quite in the same thing there. And then the last one that I just want to say is available on Amazon. Certainly not my usual fare, but just released by friend of the channel, member of the channel, Daniel Dembski, is The Majestic Goose, an ever escalating story game. And I must say it is hilarious. And again, even though if you know me and know this channel, I don't love journaling games, although Tarnation was a good outing today. But one thing I think that this game does do well, very affordable. It's just kind of a fun. You think it, but it's fun, but it's not a joke. Like, it is a good, like, fully realized game. And one thing that it does present in an interesting way that is really important, so important, in fact, that I thought about how I need to talk about it more on the channel, is it escalates. And escalating plot well, and sort of like doing a gentle rise over run with certain points of elevation of like excitement, is something that when you go too fast, things spin out of control. And when you go too slow, you're bored to tears. This one can definitely go on the fast side, but yeah, it was a pretty interesting experience. And then I'm just going to clear this off, and I know that we're deep into a video. Maybe this is too much, but I just want to talk about my first. I have the second beta version of AlienRPG. I've taken a look at the solo supplement. Good things to say, and I just want to point out a few things that are especially exciting and that have made me already curious, hopeful, and also maybe wondering how we're going to handle a few things. But I'll say no more. Be right back. Okay, so I could probably get rid of the timer here. So I still certainly have to dig in more on this, because number one, it's still the beta version. So I mean, it's even to the point that it still has sort of like XX in this space of page references. There's still some typos, and they're working it out, and that's important that I say that up front, because, you know, just because of I think that would be the right thing to say for Free League, but the design of this book, we already said it. It's just, they nailed it. And the character sheet looks great. And from what I can tell so far, this is the first solo supplement by Free League, Last Survivor, that not only works, it also might bring out something even better. And not I'm not saying it's better than the core game. I personally find solo play intermittently better than group play, and sometimes group play better. It all depends on so many factors. But what I'm saying is, there is a piece of the game that can happen here that I think, not that it cannot happen in group play, but it cannot happen like this. It actually creates a novel experience that is specific to the solo play. Gosh, I feel like I'm not scratching the itch. All right, I'll just say what I'm talking about. The mechanics built around stealth and movement and alarms in the game is so good because, all right, so think about it like this. Any other game, you have, threat level, danger level, and oh my gosh, I'm not even going to start on this. This is so good too. The MAM, Mother Analysis and Answer Matrices, is such a cool oracle because it breaks down into this danger event matrix. So think of like a generalized oracle that you can use just to kind of like derive ideas and play, but it is an oracle specifically focused on like emergent and expanding threats. Has this complex response matrix, a section matrix, access matrix, environment, salvage, anomalous environment, but it's this like combination of the stress responses, the panic, and these danger timers, specific solo stress and panic responses. These danger timers are separate from the, what are they called? Objective timers. They are essentially, as you are sneaking around, the choices you make are, you're going to be holding your breath a lot, which is exactly what you want in an Alien game. And yes, like there are elements of this, of course, in the core game, as far as I could tell. But you're alone, right? And so there's this heightening, and you have to make a choice. For instance, you roll a face hugger, the 1, and it shifts the event proximity closer by 1 step, right? From distant to approaching, for example. And you will repeat this check a certain amount of times when something happens. But you can choose what happens sometimes. So, for instance, you can choose to be stealthy, but that means you remain longer in a room. Okay? And you have this survivor timer. All right? And this basically tracks your group's overall health. It's sort of gathers a lot of this stuff in. So what I'm saying is, suppose you even tracked it on something like this, and by the way, they're like providing some sort of tool like this in the starter set. It's as simple as like moving one up, advancing, and so there could be a little bit of a management stress, but what I think is the actual stress is coming from the stress dice. And I know that that's like Captain Obvious, but here's what I'm getting at. I've said that 3 times. I haven't gotten it. The Year Zero system brings out something special here, because you are adding and subtracting dice, each of them with the possibility of increased performance or total collapse. And so it's not just the tension of like, I hope I get a good roll. It's also like, there's just going to be a lot of like, oh shit moments in this, I think, where you're going to have to say, nah, I'm going to run. I'm going to run because I want there to be an extra dice, or I want to not spend another second in this room. And so let's just go for it. Hope that, I'm going to be rolling a lot of dice. I hope I get some successes rather than, well, I need less success, but whatever it might be, whatever the balance is in terms of like the amount of dice you have, the amount of stress dice that could potentially have bad outcomes, the target number of successes you're trying to get, whatever. The year zero system works. It works. And when you're checking your solo panic response, and those who have played this before, and also like Mothership, I mean, similar here, I think this is actually better, is that you have your stress level, and when you have a stress response, you're rolling d6 plus the stress level minus the resolve, which is sort of like your grit. And so some of these higher numbers you can't get to unless your stress level is very high. And then, as we figured out last time, I thought that it was like a certain breaking point of stress. It's different. Like panic is a novel, horrifying event. A xenomorph just breaks through the wall. Again, d6 plus stress level minus resolve for these panic responses. And you are essentially screwed. And why I think that is so perfect for this setup is because, yes, you could get in a brawl outside a ship with some teamsters or whatever, but Alien, because it's usually you versus impossible odds, right? Because you are tonight's dinner, 99% chance, because the focus is on this slow closing your eyes and turning your face sideways as like the inner mouth of the xenomorph comes out and stretches and tries to get you. Because that is the experience that they're trying to focus on, they're able to give like a high level of fidelity with this experience, just with how the mechanics are set up. Obviously, we're going to have to play it more. We're going to have to see. And I'll tell you why I haven't fully played it yet, even though I walk through some of the steps in this, is I never played Alien Core RPG, so I'm doing the solo thing where I have to learn the core game and kind of go back and forth with this. But I will say, also to its credit, is Last Survivor has enough sort of, for lack of a better term, like proprietary systems that are reconfigured specifically for it, that I do not feel overburdened by having to read like the whole 313-page core book. The only thing I disagree with right now in it is that it recommends playing an android, because androids dream of electric sheep. No, because androids are resistant to panic and they have increased survivability. And so it says, yeah, this is like an ideal solo character. But here's the thing. It's not only that they're resistant to it. The android, what the hell is it? They don't even do either panic or stress checks. I forgot which one. And by the way, why can I not print double-sided? And why do I refuse to get a printer that does that? And why do for years I've tried to like be like, okay, flip and then keep the last page. The first shall be last. Okay, so it says androids in the alien universe often find themselves alone. Because of this, as well as their increased survivability and resistance to panic, an android makes ideal solo character. It says then follow the guidelines on page XX. But And I thought it was right up ahead here, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, my thought was whether I forgot again if it's a stress roll or a panic roll or whatever it is that yeah, I might have a better chance of surviving whatever that means, right? And maybe if it's a one shot and I hate somebody else in the group and I want them to die and I want like which has happened never in tabletop gaming for me. I'm not necessarily worried about winning. I I'm playing Alien, man. And my character's name is Jorma, which means my character's name is not Ripley. And so boy, I hope I survive, but I'm not going to survive, you know? And so it's like I think one of the best mechanics of Last Survivor is that it achieves one of the core like missions of Alien better than being in a group because it's eerier. You are alone. And so why would I eliminate a panic check? I wouldn't want to do that. That's what it is. You completely eliminate it. And I'm going to look this up. I can't keep talking around it. Right. So this is the universal supply dial that comes in the starter set box here. And I'm just trying to find the Android thing. But the other thing I was going to say is this is actually one of the few games that I would actually consider like doing a one shot. Oh, here we go. Playing as an android. Androids get +3 bonus to 2 attributes after the 14 attribute points have been assigned. They can't push skill rolls. Oh well. They don't suffer stress and don't have a stress level and never make panic rolls. And they suffer damage differently. So like what the hell? Now, one thing that I did think of while I was playing around in the game yesterday is I think that it has a section on secret androids, and I know what they're saying with that is like, you know, uh, if you know you're there as part of the company, and maybe you don't tell you and talk to the GM, whatever. But what I'm thinking, in beginning a solo play, and I can't figure out how to do this because there's some issues with it, but like I would shuffle up this deck, and I would put this card here, and you know, halfway through my solo campaign, I would say, all right, if this card was clubs or whatever, I am an android, you know, or not, or if it's red or if it's black or whatever. But the only issue with that is like, if I didn't know, that would definitely, I'd have to figure out how to augment my abilities. So maybe there'd be like 2 cards, and the first one would be like, should I increase my stats? And then if it's yes, and then I'm not an android, I could be taking experimental stims or something. I'm getting ahead of myself. The thing I was saying is I usually don't like one shots. One shots are a drag to me. But Alien has this cinematic play as a well-constructed loadout of this game. And it makes sense not only because we're going to have a bunch of awesome cards that help us facilitate this so we could draw everything up. Everything is going to go quick. But also, if you think about it, because I don't have many expectations of spending a long time in the Alien universe, right? Like, I mean, you could say a movie that sort of builds things out more. You could talk about Prometheus, you could talk about whatever. But the reality is, here's how Alien movies go. You get some cryptic information in which Ridley Scott like just took out all of the relevant dialogue and kept 4 minutes that he liked how it looked and said people will figure it out. And then H.R. Geiger creates something that he saw while visiting hell before he was born. And then everyone's dead. And even the person who survives is pregnant with it, you know. And so it's not like I am like thinking about while I'm on a ship going, boy, I can't wait till we get back to the Shire. I don't know the Shire. There's nothing that's it. That's it. And so I think that could actually work really well in just my feel of it. Because usually with a one shot, I'm like, what's the point? Come on. And I also know like it's gotten to the point where even when I'm play testing games or playing in a convention or something like that's a different story. But it's getting to the point where I'm like, I don't want to wet my whistle and then have to just like throw the character in the garbage or not play again, because it's just going to make me wish that I wasn't playing a one shot. But here I can see it differently. I opened up a bunch of threads here. I'm not sure how much I closed, and I think this video, for me, I've been recording for 4 hours and 22 minutes. Most of it has just been sped ahead for you, you lucky duck. But this looks good. I am really excited about it. I'm very I'm looking forward to trying this out because and to have the final product, because this is how we move this forward. We have to try different things, and I think Free League is if not AAA, a AA company, and when it gets to the point that a double or AAA company is putting some of these more experimental, is this the bleeding edge here? No, but when it gets to the point that they're building this out, that means that there's a lot of creative energy flowing up from other games, other solo players, solo community dialogue. So I don't know, keep it up. And we're going to come back to this. I'm definitely going to be a space trucker. We all know this already. I can't wait to get the box set with the cards and everything like that. But let me know your thoughts. And don't forget to leave me a little VM. Why not? Hey, look, you're in your car, you're bored. 856-818. I can't believe I'm starting to remember this number. 3904. Thank you all again for letting me do this. I love it. Look at this. I try to get people's names up here. I'm saying thank you to them, and I cover it up with a PDF. What kind of monster am I? Bye, everyone. Love you.